Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. So we got one more video on dealing with some of this percent stuff. Are we talking about markup, markdowns, tax, and tips? So some common situations in life where percents are used. We're going to be calculating them, and we're going to be looking at maybe a shortcut that we can do to answer some of these questions. Okay, now that we're getting a little more comfortable with percents. All right. So our essential question: how do you find the sales price of something that is marked down, marked up, discounted, or taxed? So let's define those terms here real quick. So a markup is when the store buys something from the people who makes it and then increases the price by a certain percent so that they can make a profit, right? They wouldn't make any money if they sold it for the same amount they bought it for. So they get it for a certain amount, mark it up by a percent, and that determines how much money they get from selling it. Okay. A markdown is what happens when you get a discount. So sometimes things go on clearance or you have a coupon or something and they're marked down. And that's usually a percent as well. So they take a percent of the price and decrease the price by that amount. Okay, tax, I'm sure you've heard of. Tax is an extra charge on the item bought. Tax is pretty much always computed by percent. Different things have different sales tax. Okay, it's about 7% for most things. Okay, tip. Tip is money given for a service. Again, you've heard about that before, I'm sure. If you give a tip to a waiter or waitress or somebody who delivers your food, it's often considered a percent of how much the bill was, right? So a percent tip is a pretty common thing. Okay, so that would be tax, tip, and markup are all percent increases. They're added onto the amount. The markdown is a percent decrease because that's the only one where the number is getting smaller. Okay, so percent proportion um, is something we can certainly use as we go through this. We can also use the percent equation. If you remember, after we learned them both, I said you could choose whichever one you like. Okay, whichever one you think is easier. So let's remember what the percent equation looks like. Very similar. A percent equation is part equals percent times whole. And in this case, the percent is written as a decimal. Okay. All right, so let's look at an example. So the sunglasses, let's say the store buys them for $7 and they have a 30% markup. Okay, so they're going to add 30% of the cost of these sunglasses to determine what they're going to sell it for. So we got a couple options here. So let's start with option one. Option one is pretty direct. We're just going to find how much the markup is and then just add it on to the price. So I'm finding 30% of $7. Okay, so I'm going to use the equation for this one. Okay, so for the equation, the part, which is what I'm trying to find, equals the percent as a decimal. 30% is 0.3 times the whole, which is $7. Okay, you've heard me say it before, I'll say it again. I chose the equation here because the easiest way usually to find the percent of a number is just multiply the number by that percent as a decimal. Okay, so I want to find 30% of 7, so I'm multiplying 7 by 30% as a decimal, which is 0.3. When I multiply this, I get 2.1. Okay, so think about that in terms of money. That's $2.10 for the markup. Okay, now I'm not going to sell it for $2.10. That's less than what I paid, right? I'm going to add this on so that this is what I earn. So I'm going to sell it for $9.10, adding these together so that I get back the 7 I spent plus another $2.10 profit. Okay. So let's actually do a couple more like that before we come back to option two. All right, so let's do this digital camera. Digital camera, let's say we can get it for $120. It has a 55% markup. So I'm going to find 55% of this number, to mark it up. Let's use the percent proportion this time. Doesn't matter which you use. So I'll show you a little bit of both. Okay. So I'm trying to find 55% of 120. That means my 120 is the whole. The part I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find. The percent is 55. Okay. So if I do some cross multiplying here, I get 120 times 55, which is 6,600. Equals 100 times x, which is 100x. Divide both sides by 100. Gives me 66. Okay, so that means the markup should be $66. So I take what I paid, 120 plus 66, add that together, and I would sell it for $186. Okay, so that is that price of that camera with a 55% markup. Okay, let's go back and look at the second option. Now, there's a way to do this in one step instead of two. So instead of finding the markup and then adding it, there's a way to do this in one step, and it involves thinking about the total percent that you pay. That's my hint. So I'm going to pause it here, let you brainstorm a little bit, see if you can figure this out before I give it to you. All right, welcome back. So here is the idea. Hopefully some of you came up with this one. So the idea of the total percent paid. Well, if we're marking something up by 100%, or by 30%, sorry, that means we're going to end up paying a total of 130% of whatever we paid, right? If you think about adding the markup, right, we add this 30% markup to 100% of what the item already costs. So this is 100%, we add another 30%, that brings you to 130%. So the total that we pay is 130% or the total that we're selling for is 130% of what we got the glasses for. Okay, well, that means I can do this in one step by just finding 130% of my number. Okay, so as I said before, the easiest way to find a percent of a number is multiply the number, which is 7, by that percent as a decimal. 130% as a decimal is 1.3. That's moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So if you do 7 times 1.3, you can get 910% right off the bat. Okay, so that is the idea. Let's see how that works with the camera. So for the digital camera, it got marked up by 55%. That means I'm paying 100% of what I paid plus an additional 55%. Okay, so total, I'm going to pay 155%. Okay, I did this one with the percent equation or proportion. So let's do it for the second option as well. So 155% of 120 is what I'm trying to find. Okay, so 120 is my whole. I don't know what the part is. This is always 100, and my percent is 155. Okay, all right, if I do some multiplying here, I get 120 times 155 is 18,600. That equals 100x. Divide both sides by 100. And you get 186 equals x. So $186. Same thing I got before. Okay. So that is kind of a handy trick. So you don't have to find a percent and then remember to add or subtract it. You can just figure out what the overall percent is going to be and just calculate that. Okay, let's see if I can use that. So silk flowers bought by a craft store cost $10 per dozen. They want to mark them up 35%. What will be the selling price? Okay, so this is a markup. That means I'm going to increase by 35%. Okay, so my selling price is going to be 135% of their normal price, which they said is 10. So $10 times 135% as a decimal, which is 1.35, equals $13.50. I did not write that very well. $13.50, okay, which is option C. Okay. All right, let's see if I can use that again. So shirts bought by a sporting goods store cost them $20 per shirt. They want to mark them up 40%. So if they're marked up 40%, that means I'm going to be selling them for 140%. Okay, basically, we increased to the 100% by 40% up to 140. I want to find out how much that is. Okay, so how much that is, that's the part, equals the percent as a decimal. 140% as a decimal is 1.4 times $20 times the original amount. Again, notice I'm just multiplying the amount by the percent as a decimal. If I do that, I get $28. Okay. If they mark up 40%, they want to sell them for $28. 20 of that will be getting back what they paid. The other 8 is the 40% markup that they get for profit. Okay. All right, let's look at some where we have a markdown or a discount. Okay, and we'll do it the long way first, and then think about how we can apply that shortcut to these problems. So if a CD is $14.50 and it's 10% off, first I want to find out how much is 10% of this. Okay, so if I take $14.50, multiply it by 10%, which is 0.1, that'll give me $1.45. So 10% of this is $1.45. If it's 10% off, I can just take the $14.50 and subtract that $1.45, and I get $13.05. Okay. Now, can you think? Well, let's do this one too. Then let's do it. So, can you think how we would apply the shortcut from before to this? So, if something is 10% off, we're paying less than 100% of the whole price. You're paying 10% less than that. Okay, so we have 100% of the price minus the 10% that's being discounted. Okay, so in this case, what we want to find is 90% of the original price. 10% is off. That means we're paying the other 90%. Now, a lot of people get stuck in trying to add it to 100. It's only adding to 100 when it's marked up. Okay, when it's a discount marked down, we're subtracting the percent from 100% because it's getting smaller. Okay, so if I do the same thing, if I take this $14.50 and I find 90% of it, that means I multiply by 0.9. That'll directly give me $13.05. Same thing. Okay. All right. Let's try with this one. So this one is 75% off. Okay, so if you're saving 25%, what percent are you paying? Well, you're paying the other 75%. So to figure out what I pay for this, I want to know what 75% of this number is. So to find 75%, I multiply by 0.75. And let's go to our calculator for that one. So we got 39.95 times 0.75 equals about 29.96. Oops. and that is to the nearest cent. Remember, with money, you're always rounding to 2 decimal places. So that's how much that sweater would cost. Okay. All right, let's try this one. A DVD sells for $28. This week it is on sale for 20% off. What's the sales price? I'm going to let you try this one. So again, think of it as 20% off. What is it? What percent of the price are you paying? Okay, I'll pause it here and then resume when you have an answer. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you got $22.40. Okay, if it's 20% off, you're paying 80%. 80% of $28 is 22.4, which is $22.40. And again, if you want to find 20%, subtract that, you can. If you want to use the proportion, you can. Okay, just showing you the shortest way there. If it makes sense for you, this is what I recommend using. Okay. All right, let's try another one of these. I'll give you a chance to figure out this one. So computer is usually sells for $1,200. This week it's on sale for 30% off. What is the sales price? All right, use whichever method you like, and we'll see how you do. All right, hopefully you got $840. Okay, if it's 30% off, we're paying 70% of the price. 1,200 times 0.7 is 840. Okay, so whichever method you went, hopefully that is what you got. All right, so last slide here. I'll do the tax one, then I'll have you do the tip one. Okay, it's the same kind of idea. So here's a case where, again, things are being, these are both going to increase our price. Okay, so tax and tip are both added on to the price. Okay, so if a bicycle is on sale for $189.50, the sales tax rate is 5%. What is the total price? Okay. All right. So if the tax rate is 5%, that's added on to what I pay. So 100% plus I'm paying an extra 5% for tax. Means I'm paying a total of 105%. So I want to know 105% of this number. So 189.5, if I multiply by this percent as a decimal, that's 1.05. Let's see what that gives me. 189.5 times 1.05 is 198.98 to the nearest dollar. Or to the nearest cent, sorry. 198.98. Okay, so that's what it would be with tax. All right. So in a similar way, let's see if you can figure out this tip one. This tip is also being added on. Rose and her friends are eating out for dinner. The bill was $45.80. They want to leave a 20% tip. How much should they leave? Let's say how much do they want to leave total? Okay. Although it's a good idea to make sure you're again reading the question. If I just left it, how much did they leave for tip? Okay, then you would not want to add this on. You just want to find out what 20% is, and that would be answering the question. Okay, but let's pretend we're trying to find out how much they should leave total. Okay, so let's pause the video here and see if you can answer that one. All right, hopefully you got $54.96 for your answer. Okay, a 20% tip means we're paying 120%. 100% for the bill plus an additional 20%. So we multiply this by 1.2, which is 120% as a decimal, and we get 54.96. And again, if the question was just how much should I leave for a tip, all you'd be doing is finding 20% of this number, same way we did before, and that would be the amount of the tip. Okay. All right. But if we want to know how much it is together, we can do that in one step by finding 120%. All right. Go ahead and give it a shot. Let me know if you have any questions.